Danny Hopkins is a soccer player, and his team is playing against the Rivertons for a spot at the finals. Danny's parents, Alex and Bonnie, his little sister Sarah, and his girlfriend Cindy are at the game to cheer for him. Well, Danny's team is not winning, and as Alex comments on the game, Sam Donovan, Bonnie's father, joins them with the food. Sarah is worried that Danny's team might lose the game, and she tells Grandpa Sam that she cannot do anything to help. Sam says isn't she the little girl who talks about God all the time, so she could try asking him for a little help. So, Sarah says a prayer to God, but she asks to help Danny play better. Hearing her prayer, Sam and the rest smile, finding Sarah to be the cutest. And soon, as the ball heads towards Danny, God uses his controls to control Danny as he backflips to kick the ball into the goal. Sarah cheers for Danny and thanks God for answering her prayer. But soon enough, Alvy Bronner from the other team trips over Danny, gaining a penalty for his team. Into the final moments of the game, Alvy's kick makes the goal, and Danny's team loses their spot at the finals. Sarah questions Sam why they lost since she prayed to God just like he told her to. Sam says that he told her God might help and not guarantee a win. Anyway, after what Sam told her, Sarah feels like she has to cheer up Danny and takes Cindy along with her. As they leave, Bonnie confirms with Sam that they will be heading over to his place, while Sarah will be coming with Danny and Cindy, since they love to dance in the car. Sam wonders how they do that, and we see Sarah and Cindy dancing along to the song, I Wanna Believe in You. They reach Sam's place, and Sarah talks Cindy into going to the lake, so Danny joins them too. As soon as they reach the lake, Sarah finds a dead bird on the ground. She picks it up and Danny asks her if wants to bury it. She says it might still be alive, and Danny reconfirms using his finger that the bird is dead. Sarah says she wants to pray for it, quoting, how Jesus came back to life. Danny is against the idea, but Cindy says that they should let Sarah do what she wants to do. They leave Sarah alone to pray, and they head over to the opposite side to fish. Danny catches a couple of fishes, and even though it's been a few hours, they head back to find Sarah still on her knees. They tell her that it's time to leave, but Sarah tells them that God is right before them, floating over the water. They cannot see God. Danny says it's time to leave, and he will help her to bury the bird. Surprisingly, a gush of wind passes them, and the bird comes back to life and flies away. Cindy and Danny cannot believe what they just saw, and Sarah gets up as she tells them that God brought it back to life. After they return, Sarah helps Sam to pick up some logs, and she shares about what just happened by the lake. Sam finds the story intriguing and learns that Sarah told Bonnie about it as well, but she didn't believe Sarah. Sam says that he believes her, and as they head back to the house, he asks Sarah to keep this a secret between them since others are not as smart as him. As night arrives, the Hopkins get back home, and we find Sarah calling up her best friend Mike Miller. Mike asks from whose phone is she calling him, and Sarah tells him that she borrowed her brother's. Okay, anyhow. Moving on, Sarah shares the happenings of the day and what she went through by the lake near her grandpa's house to Mike. He doesn't believe her at first, but Sarah insists that she is telling the truth, and she is telling him since he is her best friend. So, he asks her what God looked like, and Sarah says that she couldn't see clearly at first since it was so bright, but as soon as he stepped out, she caught a clear glimpse of a man wearing t-shirts and jeans. Mike still doesn't believe her, but Sarah tells him that both Danny and Cindy saw it happen too. Even then, she trusted him, so she shared the story with him, and the others would definitely call her crazy. Sarah hears her mom walking over and cuts the call. Bonnie sleeps beside her, and Sarah once again mentions how whatever she told her was the truth. Sarah continues on to mention that God spoke with her, and mentioned how he will be taking her to heaven soon. Bonnie is startled to hear this, and states clear that she is not going to let Sarah go anywhere, and she will go to heaven only after she is much older. She tucks Sarah in and leaves the room. Late into the night, Danny wakes up his parents, informing how he wanted to check if Sarah took his phone, and found Sarah all sweating and having trouble breathing. Dr. Ben drops in to check on Sarah and informs the Hopkins that it is probably stomach flu, and asks them to keep Sarah at home the next day. And as Dr. Ben leaves, Bonnie gets the go-ahead from Alex and opens up about the occurrences Sarah had been mentioning since they visited her father's place. Dr. Ben asks them not to worry since Sarah is healthy, and tells them to call his office if there is any change in Sarah's condition. After Ben leaves, Alex goes in to check on Sarah and finds a painting by her bed. As he picks it up, Sarah tells him that she painted it that evening after they came home from Grandpa's. Alex is surprised to find Sarah talented in art and asks to take the painting to show her mother. He shows the painting to Bonnie, and she too is shocked to the core to discover that her daughter is gifted in art. The day after that, Sarah walks to school along with Mike, who's on a wheelchair, and she hands him a painting she did of him. He is overjoyed by it, and soon they are surrounded by other kids from school who ridicule Sarah, asking to bring their dead pets back to life. Sarah confronts Mike about asking him not to tell anyone, and at this time, Danny and Cindy walking out the store see the kids ridiculing his sister. Danny can be seen holding onto a soccer ball, so Danny kicks the ball towards the kids riding their bicycles, and they fall one by one. Danny walks over to tell the kids off, and they walk together. As they turn across the street, they come across Alvy Bronner, who walks up to them. Sarah finds Alvy's dog cute and walks up to it, but soon finds that it is not friendly. Alvy tells her to stay away from his dog and provokes Danny for losing the game and always hiding behind his girlfriend and sister. As Danny turns back to fight Alvy, he finds a car approaching Alvy and pushes him away. It was actually Alvy's buddies who just left, and he started driving the car with eyes on his phone and not the road. Alvy goes to talk with his buddy, but soon notices that his dog got hit by the car. Alvy comes to check to find that his dog is dead, and Sarah now walks close to it. Alvy tells her to stay away as Danny and Cindy stop him. Sarah can be seen on her knees praying to God as she touches the dog. The dog soon opens its eyes and starts licking Sarah, and everyone there witness the miracle that Sarah just pulled off. Mike finally believes what Sarah told him was indeed the truth. After school, Sarah and Mike walk together, and Mike asks her if she could pray for him to walk again. So why not? He is her best friend, and Sarah gives a try and holds Mike's hands and says a prayer for him. The next day, the Millers visit Riley Clinic, where they inform Dr. Ben that their son Mike was able to move his toes. The doctor doesn't believe that to be the case, but soon Mike shows him that he can move them on both feet. The doctor is shocked, and the Millers are overjoyed now that their son might have a chance to walk again. Dr. Ben doesn't want to give false hope to them, and as they are conversing, Mrs. Miller notices Dolores Clark from Channel 12 News at the hospital. Ben says she is one of his patients, and right then, they are interrupted by Mike, who walks towards them. His parents are crying in joy, and Dr. Ben is speechless, seeing what's happening right before his eyes. Hearing the commotion, Dolores Clark walks towards Ben and questions how she recognizes Miller, who injured his spine in an accident. She mentions how she covered his story, and the doctors believed he never had a chance to walk again. Mike walks towards them and reveals it's all because of Sarah Hopkins. Mike also reveals about Sarah able to talk with God, and how she revived a dead bird and a dead dog, and she also healed him. Feeling her media tingle turning on, Dolores rushes out, and Dr. Ben tries stopping her, saying she needs to gather the facts, but she tells how she just got them and leaves. Following this, Dr. Ben visits the Hopkins along with Pastor Jerry, and he asks how Sarah is doing. She tells them that her head hurt a little the previous evening. Ben says she might still have the flu, and asks when was the last time she met with Mike. Sarah tells them about walking back home together, and since he asked, she prayed for him and left. Pastor Jerry opens up about Mike being able to walk again, and Sarah is happy to hear it, of course. Pastor Jerry learns more from her, and somehow we find Dr. Ben not too happy hearing her story. He heads out and tells the Hopkins that he is worried about Sarah's health, and her life might take a major turn if news gets out about how she is talking with God and going around curing people. He leaves after telling the couple to take care of Sarah and bring her to the clinic if she feels any pain. Dr. Ben reaches home to his wife, Elizabeth, who asks about Sarah, and he tells her that he is worried since more people will find about Sarah talking to God and healing people. Elizabeth feels that Ben is still angry at God for taking their son Jesse away from them. She also says that she is not strong like him to stop believing in God, and that would make her stop believing that their son does not exist anymore. Ben replies that Sarah doesn't need anyone and use her like an instrument of God, and if there really was one, will he create a world where parents have to watch their children die? As Ben says these words, he notices Dolores on the news covering a segment on Sarah, and he glimpses at Elizabeth with a look signifying that things are out of their hands now. Back at the Hopkins house, Alex finds Sarah painting a picture of a girl on a horse, and he asks her who it is. Sarah doesn't feel like she knows her, but she dreamt that they could be good friends. We zoom in at the painting, and the scene transitions to the actual girl from the painting, and we learn that her name is Teresa Casillas. She has a lot of toys of horses, and her uncle Alonso brings her another one. She is excited to receive it, but at the same time she tells him that she overheard the doctors speaking with her mom that her cancer is getting worse, and that she doesn't have much longer to live. Alonso comforts Teresa and heads to the living room, where his sister Maria Casillas is watching the news, and they learn about the miracles Sarah has been performing. Maria speaks with Alonso about taking Teresa to meet Sarah, but he doesn't want to get her hopes up, since that's easy, but if Teresa isn't healed, it would be the final blow to their lives. We jump to the next day, where people just like Maria have come to meet Sarah with their sick children. The Hopkins are shocked to see so many people gather in front of their house, and Alex wants to head out to tell them to leave. Sarah stops him and says that she wants to help them just like she did Mike, but her parents are worried since it affects her health, and moreover, they are inclined towards the thought the healing might not work. But even still, Sarah heads out to see them. She notices Teresa and says that she's the girl from her painting. While Teresa is puzzled by this remark, Sarah takes her hand and starts praying. She says that Teresa is cured, and both Maria and Alonso are happy. Moving on to the others, Sarah next takes the hand of a blind girl and says a prayer. Teresa notices a glimpse of a white entity, of course God in this case, standing behind Sarah, and the blind girl's eyes are healed and she gets her sight. Next up is the kid on the wheelchair. Sarah pulls him up on his feet and he is cured. Sarah is all out of prayer power, and as she addresses "That is all for today, folks," she faints and Alex picks her up and they get back inside. We transition to the clinic, where Bonnie explains that the freak show in front their house was real, and no one can explain how it all happened, but in the end, Sarah is affected and asks what is the meaning of all this to Dr. Ben. He tells the Hopkins that they shall discuss the freak show later, and what is important now is Sarah's condition. Right then, the nurse calls them to watch the news, and they find Dolores in front of the Hopkins' house, covering a story about Sarah curing the blind, and another kid on the wheelchair. Soon, Danny sees the reporters arriving at the clinic. He tells Alex that they can take his car since the reporters wouldn't know about it, and Cindy offers to stall the reporters while they escape. Later at night, Bonnie and Sam have a conversation about Sarah creating miracles and how her health is getting worse with each one she cures. Right then, Bonnie gets a call from Dr. Ben, and Sam notices Sarah and Danny playing video games. Bonnie comes back in tears, and Sam comforts her. The next day, Sam visits the spot by the lake next to his house where Sarah told him about meeting God. Sam speaks out about Sarah talking to him and creating miracles. Even though it's all well and good, Sam opens up to God not to take away Sarah from them, and if he needs a life he shall take his instead. Sam gets on his knees and pleads out loud to save Sarah, but having no response he falls down crying. Dr. Ben and Pastor Jerry visit the Hopkins at this time and they ask to speak in private. Bonnie tells Danny to take Sarah outside. They head outside and Danny tries to cheer Sarah, but while he is distracted, Sarah sneaks inside to overhear the adults discussing about the tumor in her brain. Ben says that the tumor is in a risky position, so surgery is out of the options, and moreover, there are no other options but for Sarah to meet her end. Bonnie bawls her eyes out on hearing this, and how she'll break the news to her daughter. Right then, Sarah walks out saying how she just heard everything, and asks her parents not to be sad, since after she dies, she will go to heaven along with God. Bonnie and Sarah hug each other in tears, and Sam walks in this time. He is shocked to see the family in tears, and he hears Sarah asking Bonnie to take her to the lake, since she wants to meet God again. Alex and Bonnie reject her idea, mentioning that they should visit the hospital instead and take Sarah away, as she asks Sam to visit the lake. Back at the hospital, the reporters barge Danny and Cindy with questions on Sarah's health. They run inside and Danny tries his best to cheer Sarah, and she asks Cindy sing their favorite song to her. Cindy sings "I Wanna Believe in You," but a much sadder and teary version. Alex and Bonnie enter the room, and at this time Danny receives a message from Sam asking him and Cindy visit his home. So, They head out, and at Sam's house, quite some people have gathered, and Teresa addresses them, revealing how she saw God behind Sarah while she was curing people in front of their house. Sam follows up with how Sarah badly wanted to visit the lake again, and he insists that Sarah might have a way to cure herself at the lake. To pull this off, he points out Maria, who works as a nurse at the hospital. At night, it rains cats and dogs, and the plan is in execution. Teresa has a wig and is on a wheelchair. Danny and Maria disguise themselves as nurses, and Sam enters Sarah's room and distracts Alex and Bonnie, getting them to leave the room for a moment. After he gives the signal, the nurse team enter the room, and as Teresa takes Sarah's place in the room, Danny and Maria manage to take Sarah outside the hospital. Soon, Bonnie and Alex get back to the room and find Sarah not there, and caught red-handed. Teresa explains the entire plan to them as well. They run out, knowing it was all Sam's plan, and on the outside, as Danny leaves in the car, one of the reporters recognizes Sarah heading out in the car, and he breaks the info out to every other reporter outside the hospital. So they all start heading after them as well. Danny speeds his way, catching the attention of the police, and they start chasing them. Sam, who was behind them, overtakes the police car and stalls in front, helping Danny to drive away. Cindy, Teresa, and Mike are behind them as well, and as we think that Sarah is close to the destination, their route is blocked by a falling tree. Alvy drives in out of nowhere, and his dog is with him too. He offers to help Sarah and mentions an alternate route through the forest. The cops are closing in, and as they reach the spot, they learn from Sam that they are doing all this to help Sarah. The police decide to stay back, and soon the reporters reach the spot and start chasing Sam and the others. Alex and Bonnie reach the spot as well. While Danny and Alvy struggle through the storm carrying Sarah, a wolf comes in their way, and Alvy's dog manages to chase it away. That is entirely bizarre with how hard it's raining, and that aside, Sarah arrives at the lake, and so does everyone else. Bonnie, who reaches the spot, blames Sam for having brought Sarah here, and just then, a portal opens in front of them on the lake. Everyone sees Sarah's soul walking out of her body towards the portal where a man is waiting for her. Shockingly, Bonnie even waves her goodbye, and as Sarah walks inside the portal, the man they see transform into Jesus as the portal vanishes. The family weeps as Alex picks up Sarah, and they all return their way. The reporters are shocked with what they just witnessed, but find that nothing was recorded on camera. The rain stops, and the cops notice that none of the people who went up are wet. The news of Sarah's death soon spreads, and people gather in front of their house with candles. The family mourns as Bonnie apologizes to Sam since he was just trying to fulfill Sarah's last wish. At this time, Cindy finds a painting that Sarah drew last, and Danny shows everyone the picture depicting Sarah walking out of the portal. He rushes towards Sarah on the bed and starts praying. Miraculously, Sarah comes back to life in all good health, and Sarah reveals that God sent her back and returned to heaven after she is much older. The family walks out, and Sarah comes out as well, shocking everyone, saying it was all a prank by God. Let me know what you think about this movie called The Girl Who Believes in Miracles, and I shall see you again with another story. Until then, this is your host for Movie Recap signing off.